All right, so describe how the assassination of Franz Ferdinand was a cause to World War One. Let's start off with the alliance systems we mentioned yesterday. So at the start of the war, well, before the war was even, even before the war was started, ramping up to World War One, what two alliance systems did we talk about? Give me one of them. Roy? The Triple Alliance. Okay, good job. And who's involved with the Triple Alliance? Who's involved? Don't do this to me. Alice, go ahead. Yeah, good job. So Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy. Why would Austria-Hungary want to ally with Germany? Didn't they just defeat them in a war within 7 weeks? Go ahead, Lindsay.
Because Germany was getting more powerful.
Yeah, Germany's getting more powerful. They're becoming more dominant, right? And with Austria, they wanted to try to ride the coattails of Germany. Okay, they also share a border, right? They have a very similar culture and language. After the fall of the Holy Roman Empire, we know that some of these German-speaking states shared a culture, almost shared a form of confederation with Austria. So yeah, Austria is like, yeah, let's just join up with Germany. This makes sense. And after they crush everybody in a war, we can claim some territory, right? We'll be rising as a world power if we're alongside the victors here. Italy, same thing. They're just uniting as a country right around the same time as Germany, but they didn't go through these advancements, right? They didn't go through this modernization. So they're kind of falling behind, but at the same time, they see the, really the pros, the advantages of joining the side of Germany if they win this war. And who was counteracting the Triple Alliance? What was the other alliance? Alice, go ahead. The Triple Entente. Good job. Triple Entente. And who was involved in the Triple Entente? Yeah, good job. So we already know France and Germany hate each other from the Franco-Prussian War. And with Germany, they crowned their emperor in the Palace of Versailles in Paris, in the capital, really throwing salt in the wound, right? And we already know that those two countries hate each other. Bitter rivalry between the two of Germany and France. So France also, sought an alliance with an old-time rival, Great Britain. And why do you think Germany brought Great Britain and France together? Like I mentioned, they hated each other for long, long periods of time. There are many wars fought between France and Great Britain, one being the American Revolution. France aided the colonists in trying to rebel against Great Britain, the crown. So why do you think France and Great Britain joined together? Tyler, why they joined together after all this bitter rivalry they had, this poor history between the two? Who are they afraid of? In Europe, Central Europe, who are they afraid of? Oh, come on, Roy. Germany, yeah, good job. Because Germany just whooped France in a war. And at the same time, Germany's challenging, remember, Great Britain's Navy. Remember the Anglo-German naval arms race? We talked about that on Monday, okay, Tuesday maybe, and how that was ramping tensions against the two powers. Okay, so France and Great Britain realized the only way we're going to defeat Germany is if we join sides, if we come together. So why does Russia fall into this then? How does Russia fall into this? Why do you think France and Great Britain would want to ally with Russia? Russia was not industrialized yet. They just lost a war to Japan, which we talked about. We focused a lot on last chapter, moving into this one. So why do you think they would join Russia, Roy?
They had the box.
Yeah. Yeah, if you look at the map already, who has the strategic, I guess you could say, advantage? Well, the Triple Entente, because Russia is on the eastern side of Germany, France and Great Britain on the western side. Already from the very beginning, they have Germany pinched. They have them surrounded. And if Germany's going to fight this war, they're going to have to fight a two front war, right? A two front conflict, which is going to be really almost impossible to manage. Okay, they're going to have to split up their troops, split up their forces, their armaments. And it's going to be very difficult to manage a two front war. But do you think Kaiser Wilhelm II's worried about it? The Emperor of Germany? No, we talked about how he was greedy yesterday, how he was arrogant, how he believed the German Aryan culture was so much more advanced than the rest of the world, that they can just go and destroy France like that, right? Within 6-7 months, like they did the Franco-Prussian War. They think they can defeat Great Britain out in the open waters. That's why they challenged them in that naval arms race. And at the same time, they can defeat Russia, no problem. Russia just lost a war to Japan. We can take on everybody. And that's kind of why Germany maybe bit off a little bit more they can chew with this war. All right, so Franz Ferdinand, who was he a part of? He was the prince of what? What country? Roy?
Austria.
Austria, good job. Austria. And why was he going down to southeastern Europe here? Why was he going to Bosnia? What did Austria do? Go ahead, Alice. Yeah, they took it over, right? They annexed that territory, that land. I know when I talked about nationalism, the Balkan Wars, there's a lot of issues right here in southeastern Europe. The Ottoman Empire once stretched all the way up into southeastern Europe, and after the fall of the Holy Roman Empire, after the Napoleonic Wars, they started to decline. They weren't industrialized yet either. So they're pushed back really to modern day Turkey. So this was really anarchy here in southeastern Europe. All these countries were just forming because they had a different culture, language than one another. So that's why you see all these smaller, like little countries that are forming in southeastern Europe. And Austria-Hungary, they're declining too. They're an older empire. The only way that they're going to compete at the world stage is if they imperialize these lands. And as they're imperializing these lands, this will boost morale, right? Boost national pride. Hey, we're taking over some land. We're taking over territory. This is great for our empire. Well, Franz Ferdinand thought, if I parade around these towns, parade around in these countries that we just imperialized, then this might boost morale and nationalism in these areas for us, for Austria. Would you want to do that though? No, like let's say an outside force country that speaks a totally different language, has a totally different culture than the United States, takes us over, and their leaders parading around, really, let's say Washington, D.C. Are you going to join into that parade, Roy? No, it's like, I can't believe this is happening. So a group together, like I mentioned yesterday, the Black Hand, they come in and try to overthrow his leadership, try to assassinate him because they're not agreeing on terms of Austria-Hungary. So that being said, Ferdinand, he was assassinated by who? Who assassinated? That was a term yesterday. Roy? Yeah, Vrilo Princip. Good job. Part of the Black Hand, the Serbian nationalist group. And I kind of went through the story yesterday, and with the video today, you guys know it already. But they threw the bomb out, driver evaded it, but Ferdinand decided to go back in the parade, and Princip, who was drinking it up at age 19, oh boy, shouldn't be doing that. He jumps out of the bar. He can't believe that he sees Ferdinand driving down the street, shoots him and his wife, kills them both. People say his wife was pregnant, so maybe he killed 3 people. Oh my gosh, terrible. And this draws to the war because all the causes we mentioned, we talked about, we discussed already with imperialism, nationalism, militarism, the alliance system, dragging all these countries together after this assassination. Okay, and that's kind of what we're going to focus around today. How these countries, through the alliance system, really starts this war and creates this global conflict. And through imperialism, it becomes the First World War, just because now all these territories that these European countries conquered, guess what? Those people are getting involved in the war. They might not have any association with the country itself, but since, let's say Germany, Great Britain controls these lands in Africa and Asia, they're going to fight this conflict. Pretty crazy, isn't it, to think about? All right, so here are the terms for today. They're the Black Hand, Central Powers, and the Allied Powers. I didn't want to pile you up too much with terms yesterday. That's why I have the Black Hand on today. Okay, I wanted to put it out yesterday, but that would have been too many terms, I think. Yeah. Depends. Is it gonna get you in trouble?
No.
Okay.
That's
So
history. What happened to Abraham's wife after he died?
Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. What happened to her? Do you think she got a new boyfriend?
Would she still have been considered like the first lady, or like the minute Abraham died, was she not the first lady anymore?
Hoover's birthday today, so if you see him, wish him a happy birthday. Hey, happy birthday, old fart. We need more time? All right, one more minute. Okay, the black hand, what do we have? What do we got? Chloe, do you have the black hand? You don't? You serious or not?
No.
What the heck? Didn't you write the term down? Chloe, what are you doing? Okay, all right. So Serbian nationalists, right? These are people that have extreme national pride in Serbia. And like I said, Princep was a part of this Serbian nationalist group. And they're the reason why Ferdinand was assassinated. As he was parading around their towns, well, Princep, part of the Black Hand, assassinated Franz Ferdinand, kicked off this war. Essential powers. Okay, essential powers. This is one of the alliance systems that formed while the war was going on. So who was a part of the Central Powers? Tyler, who was a part of the Central Powers? Okay, so if you had to guess, when you're looking at the center of Europe, what countries would be involved there? So I'll have this map activity for you guys tomorrow so you can work on, so you're ready for this map quiz next week.
Germany, Austria, Hungary.
Yeah, good job. So when you're looking at the center part of Europe, makes sense, central powers, you have Germany, you have Austria, Hungary, and then at that time you had Italy, but they'll turn sides. You can put in the Ottoman Empire. That is a country as well that you can, or an empire that you can put in for that, the central powers. All right, what about the Allied powers? Allied powers. Roy, go ahead.
Who's in it?
Yeah, who's involved in it? Yep.
Great Britain, France, Russia, Italy, Romania, Japan, and the US.
Yeah, good job. Good job. So there's many other countries obviously involved, but for the most part, we have France, we have Great Britain, we have Russia, which is a part of the Triple Entente. And then later in the war, we'll have the United States join up. Okay. And Russia will eventually drop out. Italy jump sides. I know there's a lot of craziness here. They jump from the Triple Alliance to the Allied powers because they want to be on the side of the victors, right? Okay, they're kind of they're jumping on the bandwagon in a way. And Japan also involved with the Allied powers. They're friends with Great Britain. Okay, so again, if it comes up on a test, the main ones though, Great Britain, France, okay, Russia, and then eventually US, the United States. Okay, so moving on here today. We already talked about Ferdinand, we talked about Princep, and how his assassination kicked off this First World War. So there's a lot of information on the slide, but If you guys want to take a picture of it, that's fine. I'm just going to explain through it. And then I have an activity which kind of relates the causes of World War I together to like a cafeteria fight. So I had it a barroom fight, but I changed it then because I'm like, oh, we're in school. It's probably related to a cafeteria, and maybe some. Well, anyway, there you go. So Austria blames Serbia. Obviously, their prince, the next heir to the throne, was just assassinated. Okay, so Austria decides, well, we want to have certain demands for Serbia because of this action, because of this issue. All right, so Austria decides, well, we're going to investigate the assassination inside of Serbia. So what does that mean? Well, Austria is going to send military officials, they're going to send public officials, okay, a police authority really, down into Serbia to try to see what was going on, to try to investigate the assassination a little bit more in detail. And if you're a part of Serbia and you see all these people, all these military officials coming into your land, you're not going to be happy, right? Yeah, it's going to be an issue. It's going to be a problem. So obviously Serbia is not too happy about this. Also, Austria is going to suppress all anti-Austrian propaganda. So what does that mean? Well, Austria is controlling their media, control their newspapers, there's magazines, making sure that there is just pro-Austrian themes and culture in Serbia. So you're kind of taking away their voice of opinion, right? You're kind of taking away their viewpoints, their nationalism, their pride in their own country, because now you're controlling every media outlet that is available for the Serbians. That isn't good either. Okay, that's not going to obviously work. All right, attempt to eliminate terrorist organizations like the Black Hand. So again, increase military funding, increase military action in Serbia, try to eliminate these terrorist organizations like the Black Hand, who are extreme Serbian nationalists, okay, that have a strong national pride in Serbia. So in a way, Austria is kind of stripping them of their identity, isn't it? Yeah, that's kind of what it seems. And finally, they have to answer the ultimatum. Serbia has to answer the requests, the demands of Austria within 48 hours. If they don't, well, war's coming. War is coming. So if you're from Serbia, you're obviously not too happy about this. It's to a point where Austria is really throwing their iron fist, their authoritative measures in Serbia, okay, that they're constricting their will, constricting their viewpoints, their form of nationalism in their own country. They're just taking it away from them. So this isn't looking good already. I doubt Serbia is going to adhere to all these demands. There's just no way. So you guys good with that? Like I said, this kind of relates a little bit better when I have that activity for you. So if you just want to take a picture of it, that's fine too. And then you can write your notes down later. I know there's a lot of information here. So with the war beginning, Germany obviously supports Austria-Hungary. You really don't have to write that down. We already knew that from the Triple Alliance. Okay, they share a border. They have a similar culture. They have a similar language. So with Germany, with Austria-Hungary, okay, they already are very supportive of one another. So Serbia accepts all terms except one. They said, we'll accept all, even controlling our media, okay, allowing you to come down into our territory, our land, and try to eliminate the Black Hand, these extreme nationalist groups. Can't believe that they're agreeing to it, but they are. The only thing that they didn't agree to is the investigation of the assassination. It's like, okay, now you're overstepping your boundary, which at that point, if you're already allowing them to control your media, control everything that's really going on and increasing their police force and their military authority in your land, why not just allow them to do the investigation? But Serbia says no. Now you're pushing it too far. So with that being said, because Serbia didn't adhere to all the demands of Austria, war breaks out. War breaks out. Austria thought, well, since you're not adhering to it, we're going to declare war on you. And this is going to kick off World War I because it's going to drag all these countries into this conflict, into this war. So like I mentioned, if you want to, you can just take a picture of it. I know I'm kind of moving a little fast, but with the activity today, I have just this reading of the cafeteria fight. It makes a little bit more sense that it can, obviously, you can understand a little bit better. You guys good? Okay. So world gets pulled into war. So we'll talk about this here and how this all obviously sets out. But Serbia and Austria begins to mobilize. This brings the war into an effect, and all these countries are getting dragged into this conflict. I'm just going to skip through this one. I'll go back to it tomorrow. But this political cartoon kind of shapes exactly what's going on, what's happening. Serbia, obviously, this is where the Serbian nationalists, through the assassination of Franz Ferdinand, okay, this is where it really boots it off. Austria setting out a bunch of demands for Serbia to adhere to. Saying, listen, this assassination just can't go unwatched, unheard of. So we got to continue on and make sure that we have authority here in Southeastern Europe. So Austria is like, we're declaring war on you. And like I said before, Russia seeks some sort of friendship and alliance with Serbia just because they have a similar culture. They speak a similar language. These are Slavic speaking states. And Russia sees them as I guess you'd say, a strong partner. And they want them to have their own state country. They don't want Austria taking over these lands because if Austria gets closer and closer to Russia, that's not good. Then you have a major threat border right next to you, which they already have Germany right there, right? So Russia, it's like, listen, you're not going to pick on our little brother Serbia here. We're going to step in and try to obviously solve these disputes. We're not going to let you bully them around. So Russia supports Serbia in this action. Germany decides, well, AustriaHungary, we already had this alliance established, set up. So if Russia's getting involved in this war, well, so is Germany, right? Germany's going to back Austria to the very end. They had this alliance established way before the war even started, way before these conflicts with Franz Ferdinand, the assassination. So Germany's obviously going to start or get involved in this conflict. At this moment, Kaiser Wilhelm II, he just wanted an excuse, right? He wanted to go to war. He wanted to show the rest of the world what type of military power he had. And this was a great excuse, right? This invasion, really, of Russia getting involved in this war with Austria, this was a great excuse to show the rest of the world Germany's military power. And with the Triple Entente, in the background, we see France and Great Britain kind of running back, okay, running into this issue, running into this conflict. Okay, because of the alliance they had established really in the early 1900s, because of Germany's strong power, these two countries were going to obviously support Russia and have them surrounded from the very beginning. All right, so that political cartoon really expresses how the alliance system really drags these countries, these world powers, into this conflict. So now I'd like you guys to refer to the Canvas assignment. It's not really much of an assignment. It's not worth any points, but I want to talk about it. I think it's important. And it makes it a little bit more understandable of what's being said here and how this conflict really starts off. Let's get to it here. So our modules. So causes to World War I, barroom fight scene, should say cafeteria. Oh well. Right, we're gonna click right on here on the fight scene. I'm just gonna read through this. I'm gonna stop every now and then to explain kind of how this all shapes out. So please follow along on your iPads. Got that? Alice, got that? Good. All right, so Germany, Austria, and Italy are all standing together in the middle of the cafeteria. See, I changed it. And when Serbia bumps into Austria and spills Austria's drink. So Germany, Austria, and Italy, we know that they're a part of what? What alliance system? Not the Triple Entente, but the Triple Alliance. Yeah, right. Okay, we talked about that yesterday. So Serbia bumps into Austria, spills his drink all over. Oh my gosh, what's that supposed to represent or symbolize? The assassination, right? Yeah. So Austria demands Serbia to buy it a whole new outfit because the drink stains on its pants leg. So this is the demands Austria is seeking from Serbia. It's like, hey, listen, we need an investigation. We need to try to restrict your media. Okay, we're going to send our military officials down to your land to try to eliminate the Black Hand. So Serbia's like, whoa, geez, calm down here, right? Germany expresses its support for Austria's point of view. This is labeling and understanding that strong relationship between Germany and Austria. So if Austria is going to get in a war, Germany is looking to support them. They're just looking for an excuse to get involved and show the world their military power. Britain recommends that everyone calm down a bit. So at the start of the war, Britain's like, let's just calm down. Let's just make sure that this doesn't become a bloody conflict. Okay, Britain already knows that if they have to go to war with Germany, it's going to be pretty tough to win, right? Yeah. So Serbia points out that it can't afford a whole new outfit, but offers to pay for the cleaning of Austria's pants. So again, they accepted a lot of the demands of Austria, but not totally all of them, right? They said, okay, the investigation, that's one thing that we're not going to accept. So Austria, not too happy about this. So Russia and Serbia look at Austria, showing the lines between Serbia and Russia. They share a border. They have very similar culture, language. Okay, they're Slavic speaking state. And Russia wants to support Serbia because they don't want Austria right next door to them. Austria asked Serbia who it's looking at. So again, Austria showing their threats, okay, invading into Serbia if this war is going to happen because they didn't seek their demands. Russia suggested Austria should leave its little brother alone, again, showing that Russia and Serbia are bonded together. Austria wonders as to whose army will assist Russia in doing so, meaning that Russia is not that strong, and that if this war does crack between Austria and Russia, it's not going to look too good, not going to look too clean, right, for Russia. Okay, they need a little bit more help if they're going to stop Germany and Austria. So Germany appeals to Britain that France has been looking at it and that it's sufficiently out of order that Britain not intervene, saying that Germany's, okay, we have a bitter rivalry with France for a long time. We hate each other, okay? And Germany's just looking for an excuse to invade into France and take them over, right? And he's saying, if we're going to do this, Britain, you stay out of this. This doesn't belong to you. You're across the English Channel, forget about it. Kind of similar to what the Franco-Prussian War was. But we know that Bismarck was a better politician, a better diplomat than Kaiser Wilhelm II. Britain replies that France can look at who it wants, that Britain is looking at Germany too. And what is Germany going to do about it? So Britain is pretty much saying that France is on our side. If this war is going to break out, okay, France and Great Britain are going to come together to try to stop Germany. They have a common foe. They have a common enemy in Germany. Germany tells Russia to stop looking at Austria, or Germany will render Russia incapable of such an action. So Germany's really just pointing fingers at everybody, okay, trying to show their dominance in this conversation. Like, we'll take on France. We'll take on Russia. Okay, we'll fight a two-front war. It's not a big deal. Britain and France asked Germany whether it's looking at Belgium. Okay, this is what we're going to talk about on Monday. It's called the Schlieffen Plan. Remember how I said Alsace-Lorraine, that territory between France and Germany, that's heavily defended, heavily equipped by the two powers? Because that's really the only way France and Germany are going to fight is between that border. Well, Germany decides to attack France in a different way. They said, well, they're going to expect us coming right through that heavily defended line. Why don't we just try to invade through these smaller countries in the northern part that connects into France? And guess where Paris is? Only right around 100 miles, 90 miles away from the border of Belgium. So Germany thinks this could be an easy victory if we just march through Belgium and attack France. We can capture the capital like that. No problem, no issue. Okay, so again, we'll talk about that on Monday. So that's why Germany decides, let's just take an easier action. Let's take an easier invasion. The Ottoman Empire and Germany go off in a corner and whisper. When they come back, the Ottoman Empire makes a show of not looking at anyone. So the Ottoman Empire is this declining power. They'll join the war on the Central Power side, but for the most part, they're not offering too much. Okay, they don't have industrialization advancements like what Germany has, but Germany just needs some more support, right? They can't take on everybody by themselves. Germany rolls up its sleeves, looks at France, and punches Belgium. Poor Belgium, stuck in the middle, the little guy, right? But it just goes to show with the Schlieffen Plan how this is going to work. Okay, how Germany's going to attack France and try to surprise it. Belgium's older brother, Britain, is close and throws a punch at Germany. Because Germany invades through Belgium, this finally brings Britain into the conflict. Britain want to stay out of it for a long period of time. The only way that they're going to get involved is if Germany really acts aggressive. And that's what they do. They march right through Belgium to attack France, and Britain has no other excuse but to actually join in. It's like, okay, that's the final straw. All right, so now France, because Britain's fighting, throws one too. France needed Great Britain to support them. They knew that they couldn't stop Germany by themselves. And the only way that they're going to try to defend themselves is if Britain helps them out. So hopefully that makes a little bit more sense of how all these countries got brought into the war and how World War I really starts. I think that does a great job at explaining. Is there any questions, guys? You guys good with that? Again, I think the cafeteria scene makes a little bit more sense of how all these countries get involved. And again, we'll talk about the Schlieffen Plan on Monday and how Belgium just gets thrown at it. Oh man, poor Belgium.